For more than 8 centuries, Rome had been the unchallenged symbol of power, order, and civilization. It was the heart of an empire that stretched from Britain to North Africa, from the Atlantic Ocean to the edges of Persia. Rome had been threatened before. It had endured rebellions, civil wars, invasions, and crises. But one belief remained unshaken across the ancient world: Rome itself could not fall. In the year 410 AD, that belief was destroyed. When the city of Rome was sacked by the Visigoths under their King Alaric, it sent shockwaves through the ancient world. This was not merely the capture of a city. It was the psychological collapse of Roman supremacy, the moment when the illusion of eternal empire shattered forever. To understand how Rome fell, we must understand how Rome had already been dying. By the early 5th century, the Western Roman Empire was a shadow of its former self. Political instability had become routine. Emperors rose and fell at alarming speed, often placed on the throne by generals or removed through assassination. The army, once the backbone of Roman power, was increasingly dependent on barbarian soldiers whose loyalty was uncertain. Economically, the empire was bleeding. Heavy taxation crushed peasants and landowners alike. Trade networks weakened. Cities declined. Corruption was widespread. The central government struggled to enforce authority beyond Italy. Worst of all, Rome no longer controlled its own destiny. One of the most powerful figures of this era was not an emperor, but a barbarian general named Stilicho. Half Vandal by birth, Stilicho served Rome faithfully as commander-in-chief of the Western Roman army. For years, he held the empire together through diplomacy, military skill, and sheer force of personality. But Stilicho had enemies at court. Roman elites distrusted him for his barbarian origins. Political rivals spread rumors that he planned to place his son on the throne. In 408 AD, Emperor Honorius, weak and paranoid, ordered Stilicho's execution. This decision would doom Rome. With Stilicho dead, the empire lost its most capable defender. Thousands of barbarian soldiers who had served under him were massacred by Roman mobs, driving their surviving families into the arms of Rome's enemies. Among those enemies was Alaric. Alaric was king of the Visigoths, a people who had once been Rome's allies. They had fought for the empire, bled for it, and expected land, security, and recognition in return. Instead, they were mistreated, underpaid, and repeatedly betrayed. Alaric did not initially seek to destroy Rome. He wanted legitimacy. He wanted a formal command within the Roman system and land for his people. He negotiated repeatedly with the Roman government. He was ignored. In response, Alaric marched into Italy. The Western Roman court, terrified, abandoned Rome and retreated to Ravenna, a marshy city easier to defend. Rome, once the seat of emperors, was left exposed. In 408 AD, Alaric besieged Rome for the first time. The city was unprepared. Its walls were strong, but its population was enormous and dependent on grain imports from Africa. When the supply lines were cut, starvation spread quickly. Disease followed. Desperation took hold. The Roman Senate negotiated. Gold, silver, and luxury goods were stripped from temples and statues to pay Alaric. For a moment, Rome was spared. But peace was fragile. Honorius, safe in Ravenna, refused to honor agreements. He rejected Alaric's demands again and again, believing Rome untouchable. Alaric returned. By 409 AD, Rome was besieged for the second time. This time, Alaric went further. He supported a rival emperor, Priscus Attalus, attempting to force Honorius into negotiation. But internal divisions doomed this effort as well. Alaric had exhausted diplomacy. In August 410 AD, after nearly 3 years of failed negotiations and repeated betrayals, Alaric made his final move. On the night of August 24th, The gates of Rome were opened from within, possibly by slaves or sympathizers. The Visigothic army entered the city. For 3 days, Rome was at the mercy of its conquerors. The sack of Rome was brutal, but not mindless. Alaric ordered his men to spare churches and those who took refuge within them. This restraint shocked contemporaries accustomed to total destruction. Yet the violence was still immense. Homes were looted. Palaces were stripped. Roman nobles were dragged into captivity. Priceless treasures accumulated over centuries vanished overnight. Fires burned. Streets echoed with screams. For the first time in nearly 800 years, a foreign enemy controlled Rome. The emotional impact was devastating. Across the empire, people struggled to comprehend what had happened. Rome was not just a city, it was an idea. Its fall felt like the collapse of the world itself. Saint Jerome, living in the East, wrote that when he heard the news, he was struck dumb. Augustine of Hippo would later write The City of God, arguing that Rome's fall did not mean the fall of Christianity, but the distinction between earthly power and divine truth. Politically, the sack of Rome marked the point of no return. Though the city would survive and even recover partially, the authority of the Western Roman Empire was irreparably damaged. Provinces stopped trusting Rome's protection. Local leaders asserted independence. Barbarian kingdoms expanded. Alaric himself did not enjoy his victory for long. He died later that same year, reportedly buried beneath a river with unimaginable treasure. But the forces he unleashed could not be contained. Within decades, the Western Roman Empire would cease to exist. In 476 AD, the last Western emperor was deposed. The imperial title vanished from the West. What remained was a fractured landscape of successor kingdoms, built upon Roman ruins. The sack of Rome in 410 AD was not the end of Rome, but it was the end of Roman invincibility. It proved that even the greatest empires could fall from arrogance, internal decay, and political blindness. Rome was not destroyed by barbarians alone. It was destroyed by its own failures.